Alright, so we've just declared war against the Aserai. Welcome back to our Vlandian Night adventures, and we're going to be starting off with a strong note right here. I was actually wanting to go over to this village and actually buy some grain. Hilariously enough, I was very intentionally down in Aserai territory because I expected us to declare war against them relatively soon. And, well, I've been doing a bunch of off-screen, not too much, but a little bit. And as you can see, this is what has happened. I've taken these two over here, and we've also taken a couple of castles near to Crusade territory, just to kind of set things up a little bit for the final, final attacks and the final massive offensive against them. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to call for an army, and if I can, because we might not even have enough we might not even have enough vassals to be able to do that, hilariously enough. But there you go. Yeah, I actually don't have a huge amount of money anymore. There's a reason for that as well. I've been persuading a bunch of people, and well, it's resulted in two clans joining us. Oh yes, two factions joined me. Yes, lovely. Yeah, that would be fantastic, actually. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, anyway, yeah, unfortunately, only got two clans out of that. They were pretty good. They were, I believe, a tier 4 and a tier 6 clan. So I guess that's all right. Nothing dramatic to really write home about or anything like that. But, decent addition to the forces that we have. And now all I need to do is literally just wait here for some time and just get my army all together. Oh, look at that. There's even Hecard coming over. Oh, nice. It's good to see him, that's for sure, because we definitely need a smaller army to just kind of run interference nearby to us right here, because otherwise we're always going to have these annoying little vassals running around, and they're going to be doing some very frustrating things. Ah, there's actually a very large army over there. Okay, we're just going to skip ahead then, and we're just going to get this auto-resolve finished. We're just going to leave the prisoners to all of my friends here. I'll be taking all the loot, thank you very much. And yeah, I've finally, by the way, gotten rid of all the loot that was in my inventory, with the exception of obviously the javelins. The javelins are kind of hard to get rid of at this point. I'm thinking I might actually take Sonala as my own fief, because I don't know whether you can notice, but I'm actually losing a bunch of money, so that is obviously a bit of a problem, but otherwise, let's do that. There we go. Let's get the disband going on, and we're also going to go into the trade here. I think I actually already bankrupted the... Oh, okay, apparently not. Apparently I didn't. Okay, fantastic. Good for me then, because that means I will be able to get a little bit of extra cash. And personally, I feel like what I'd like to see is I would like to see marketplaces. There's probably a mod out there, by the way, for this, but I'd like to see marketplaces just as a natural course of action over the course of the game, just literally having scaled amounts of money. So the most money that I've ever seen a marketplace have is, I think, 111,000 or something along those lines. And what I'd like to see is the later and later you play in a particular campaign, the more money each marketplace will have. Obviously, this really depends on various circumstances, because you can't always have a town that has just been besieged have 1 million gold. That just doesn't make sense. But what I'm talking about is somewhere like, let me see if I can find a good example here. Something like this over here, Osterken, for example. Osterken is all the way in the middle of nowhere. No one has besieged that in a huge amount of time, and it has had all of these months to build up its economic power. And that is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Osterken, as far as I'm aware, will probably not have that much money in the marketplace. Obviously, every single merchant is going to be buying and selling and doing all kinds of things, and money is going to be going out and coming in and all that stuff. However, I would like to see those kinds of situations be a little bit more, because let's face it, the player at this point is going to have a lot of loot, is going to have a lot of crafted weaponry potentially, is going to have a lot of trade goods, and you kind of want somewhere to unload all of that, because otherwise, well, what are you doing? You're just going to be bankrupting every single town that you come across, which is absolutely fine, of course, because the AI doesn't care about that. But it's kind of frustrating to literally sell one javelin at a particular marketplace and then be like, oh, okay, well, one javelin, okay, one javelin coming right up, and that's it. So yeah, it would be nice to see a little bit of a change there, but obviously, as I said, I think that probably there will be a mod out there that will increase the amount of money that you can find at various marketplaces, which I think is definitely a good thing. I think that is definitely a good thing because, as I've said, it is a bit frustrating to run from town to town to town all the time, trying to find somewhere that you can unload all of your stuff. Anyway, oh, Vlandians, what? Are you serious? Well, it seems like... This is always really amusing to me as well. I feel like the war exhaustion thing, because as far as I'm aware, that is actually part of diplomacy fixes. I don't think that is in the base game of Bannerlord. I think that's in diplomacy fixes. And war exhaustion is actually quite a funny stat, in my opinion. As you can quite clearly see, however, we are now at 140,000 combat strength. That's pretty crazy. And the Northern Empire has 100 and we have 100 with them. The Crusade are actually kind of hilarious because they always end up declaring war against us, and then they go, oh no, wait, we didn't mean it, peace agreement please. And it happens pretty much instantaneously, so I have to continually press decline about the peace agreement that they offer, which is always amusing. Anyway, Kasira is going to get taken, hopefully. I'm going to go and take this castle, actually. There is another army over there as well. Oh, there's two. Oh, okay, hello there. All right, this might be a bit problematic. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but we might have some issues here. Okay, so this castle is basically ripe for the taking, and I'm thinking what we're going to do is I will call for the very close by people to join my army real fast. Just a real quick blitz attack, basically. I'm just going to go for a blitz here and just literally go straight in. And we're going to build as many of these things as we can get our hands on as soon as possible. And then we will hopefully avoid the attention of the enemy army. Because there's two of them, obviously. They could split their attention quite easily. And we don't really want that, thank you very much. We don't really want, 1,200 units or something like that coming down and saying hi. So I'm just going to literally auto-resolve that. Look at that, 51 deaths. Very nice to see it. And we'll let our prisoners get taken by our friends in our army here. Hopefully they will indeed end up taking them. If they don't, then I have no idea what they're doing. But otherwise, I'm not going to be taking this. Thank you very much. And I will now disband this army. That's literally it. That's all I wanted to do. Just disband that army straight up and let them go and do whatever they want to do. As you can no doubt see from the army screen, there are a couple of people going over to Razich. They're actually attempting to take that right now. As you can see, look at that. Pretty significant amount of people too. Desporion's army is just... what? Wow. I don't even know whose army it is, but whoever it is, I thought it was Desporion because he's at the top. But it might not be him. It might be Ospia. But whatever the case, he is just running around with literally 1,700 units, which is... craziness. But otherwise, yeah, we've just taken that castle. What else do we have going on here? Okay, so the Sturgians. That's also a pretty funny thing that happens quite often that I have noted is occurring pretty much all the time. Is these guys, the Sturgians, they basically go, okay, we're going to declare war against you, and we're going to attack you with our feather, because that's basically all they have. They literally just have a feather or a soft piece of tissue paper or something like that that they will be attacking me with, and that's all. So it is quite embarrassing a little bit for them to be doing this, considering we are quite obviously the most powerful faction. But what else are they supposed to do? That's the point. I don't know why they haven't been eliminated yet, by the way. I think that also might need to be looked at a little, because the elimination requirements or something like that are always a little bit off, because they never seem to completely get eliminated and go away, you know. We want them to go away now, but it seems like they are not going to be doing that for quite some time, because the Sturgians have been in this position for goodness knows how many months. I mean, really, they have just been hanging on by a thread for many, many months, if not years. So it's kind of weird. Don't know why that would be happening. But anyway, I have a lot of cavalry. I don't know whether you can notice that, because basically I went back to my garrisons, and I basically just took out every single cavalry unit that I could get my hands on to reinforce my army, because obviously I had done a little bit of off-screen, and some of my army had been eliminated. So being able to have a couple of extra reinforcements is always good. Oh, nice. We took out one of the enemy lords. Very nice indeed to see that. And now I'm actually going to tell my cavalry to charge in here, because the enemy's cavalry is always extremely annoying. So we're going to try and eliminate them as fast as we possibly can. Unfortunately, it seems as though they are actually being quite sneaky about their positioning here, because I don't know whether you saw that, but the enemy's cavalry has now pulled back and is now drawing or baiting our cavalry into the enemy's infantry, which is not a good idea. No, it's not a good idea at all for that to happen. So I will actually be pulling my cavalry back here a little bit, and we'll pull my infantry back too, and hopefully my archers can provide them some covering fire. And yeah, they're running away. Perfect. They are actually running away. That is fantastic. Okay, so otherwise, no, a little bit, no, well, didn't want to poke the horse actually. Thank you very much. My timing is all off for some reason. It must be the sand. The sand is completely throwing me off right now because it's just so bright. Anyway, let's see if we can get a nice little flank action going on here. I'm going to get my cavalry to follow me real fast, and then we're going to... Oh, the Imperial recruit. I feel sorry for him. I really do. That was, well, that was kind of painful. That was definitely painful. Okay, so now we're going to start moving forward a little bit. It seems like the enemy is scattered to the wind. Look at this. They're all over the place. Wow. I can't imagine being in this position. Yes, I can. Don't worry about that. I've been in this position many times. Oh, and... oh, my horse. Why, horsey? Why do you do this to me? Well. Never mind. It's okay, because I should be completely fine. It is literally just a case of me raising my shield up and letting my cavalry come in and help us out. And we're going to just place my archers on that little hill over there and let my cavalry and infantry charge in. And then we should be good. This should indeed be a victory. I mean, personally, I don't know how I could lose at this point. I mean, even if... Now, here's the funny thing about this whole thing, you know, being so powerful in this game, that generally, even if I were to be eliminated another 5 times over, even if I were to be defeated so many times that I would lose my entire army, and I'm talking about 400, 500 units every time that happened, even if that were to happen, we'd still be fine, in my opinion. I think we would still be absolutely fine, and we would have no problems whatsoever dealing with any kind of attack from anywhere, because my vassals are just so numerous and so strong, and they have so much territory that it is basically impossible, in my opinion, for anything to happen. So, yeah, that's generally it, I think. That is generally it. I'm gonna die here, unfortunately. Didn't really want to have that happen, but, well, you know, sometimes it indeed does happen. And we're actually... Are you serious right now? Are you serious that we're actually sustaining more casualties than the opponent? That is actually kind of interesting. I wouldn't have expected that, considering we have such an overwhelming advantage. I mean, I felt like we had an overwhelming advantage by a pretty considerable margin, but apparently not. Although we are now starting to pull ahead a little bit in the rankings, so I guess that's decent. But just look at the amount of units on the battlefield right now, and they are all running around doing their own thing. It is insane. They look like ants from up here. Oh yes, they certainly do. Oh my. Yeah, that is indeed it. That is indeed it. Okay, fantastic. I like it. Done. And we have now further reduced the Azerai's combat strength. And well, we're just gonna let them go. We're just gonna continue letting them go because these guys can be persuaded eventually, and I have been doing that, as I say. I have been doing that, and they have been giving me some pretty decent bargains for the most part, but obviously some of them not so much. I actually did get another person that joined me for free because of my relation with him, but the others that I had to pay, they had negative relations, so obviously that kind of works out. Otherwise, after they joined us, I did get a little bit of influence, and I just chucked it their way, and they basically said, "Oh, we love you now," and so on. And now they have a positive relation with me after I had to spend 2,000 or something influence raising it. So that's never a good idea, obviously, but you know, if you can prevent them from leaving and things, then that's always a good idea. But you know, you got to be a bit careful about how much you spend, because otherwise you're not going to be able to construct any armies. You're not going to be able to call anyone, or indeed make peace or declare war or whatever. So yeah, generally it's a good idea to keep a bit of an eye on your influence levels, and yeah, there you go. All right, so let's actually take a look at my character here real quick, because did I gain a trait or something? No, it doesn't seem like it. Okay, well, that's lovely, isn't it? Yes, that is lovely. Yeah, very good. Okay, so let's take a look at the kingdom here. How are we doing? All right, so we basically just what were they on again? 8,000? So we removed 1,000 of their total strength. Sturgia, as you can quite clearly tell, has 579 strength. Not entirely sure how they're actually going to do anything against us, but who am I to say? Who am I to say whether they should declare war against us or not? But the one thing I do know is that the Aserai are extremely close to being eliminated, and I'm hopeful that we will be able to do something about them. Ooh, I love this kind of situation right here. So I don't know whether you can see, but we have a huge amount of vassals nearby, and they're nearby for a very good reason. They just had their army disband due to decay of cohesion, or due to them not having enough money, or you know, influence, or whatever the case may be. And this is the perfect situation for me, because that means that I will be able to go to a nearby fief and basically just blitz it immediately and get this taken, and that's it. It is really fantastic when that happens, and it's just a good, should we say, a good coincidence, because that usually doesn't happen that often. But anyway, unfortunately, it seems like it is indeed a food problem, and you can see that we're actually having to spend a huge amount of food to be able to sustain these troops. So hopefully once we've taken this town, they'll be able to go in here and maybe just buy some food. I don't know whether they'll have any here, because it is just something that has been taken almost, well, very recently in actual fact. So let me see. I'm just going to go and disband the army once again. There we go. And that's generally what I tend to do. That's generally what I tend to do. I don't like to run around with an army for too long, because it is going to drain your resources super quickly. And this only has 39,000 here, so obviously it's going to be not exactly good for selling stuff, but it will be good enough, I suppose, especially for the moment. Now, I have been doing the strategy where basically I just trade some javelins, or one javelin, or some javelins, or whatever, for a bunch of upgraded loot. So, in other words, if I just click this little button up here, basically just upgrades all of our companions. And I'm talking about all of them, oh yes, and they like to upgrade a lot. And a lot of them actually end up spending about 300, 400,000, and then I just trade 3 or 4 javelins, and then it's all good. And then we're absolutely fine, and then we can continue onward, and it's basically breaking even or making the town become bankrupt, and then we get some money for that. So that's a good technique to do that. Also, what I've also tried to do is buy some higher tier armor in exchange for javelins, and just for investment's sake, not for anything else, but just for investment's sake. Because if you do that, then you take this armor and you sell it to other towns, you actually have the ability to sell in smaller denominations. So you don't just have this huge javelin investment taking, well, let's just say that most marketplaces have about 60 to 70,000, and if you have a javelin that sells for 113,000, you're literally wasting almost half of that cash. And that's the reason why having some smaller denominations, in other words, you know, some armor or weapons or whatever that is a little bit lower, definitely helps out quite a bit. So thank you to those of you that actually mentioned that to me, because that really makes a big difference in, you know, just usability of, you know, of the marketplaces, because otherwise you're just selling a javelin for way too little. Anyway, I think I'm going to call for another army here. I know that seems like a bit of a waste, but I think it is probably going to be doable here. We need to make sure that we have enough combat strength, though, so I'm going to have to call for quite a few. And bear in mind that this influence cost is going to continue going up as I continue going down the list. So let's see, 241 influence. I have 1600. Should be pretty fine. And I don't think the Aserai have any lords or armies, indeed, to be able to oppose us at this point. So let's just have a quick look at their territory. It seems like no, they do not. They do not have any other castles or anything like that. So this is the final one, and hopefully we will be victorious. So let's besiege it. Start up the siege towers and the battering ram and everything. And you may think, look at this. They've got a lot of people. You know, it's not like Iakis that had about 600 or so. They do have a significant amount, 1,200 in fact. But because they have only militia and a very small amount of actual garrison units, it is much easier than you think to take it. So thankfully, I'm actually reviving a bunch of people as well with my food stores, which is amusing enough as it is. But anyway, I think we're pretty much ready to go in. Let's do an auto-resolve. Boom, there you go. We lose 287 in the entirety of the army, which means that we had, I think we had like 2,300 or something like that. So we still have 2,000 able-bodied troops to be able to basically do whatever they want. So that's really good. We did, of course, suffer a couple of unconsciousness, so we have 700 of those that need to restore themselves, but that is really not a big deal considering we've just eliminated yet another faction. And that is exactly what we wanted to do. So I don't think I'll take Kasira. I think that's going to go to Tyus. I think that he's probably going to be a good person to look after that. Just going to disband the army, because then they can go into the garrison if they want to, and they can do a little bit of, you know, donating to the garrison's defenses. We're just going to sell a whole bunch of extra stuff. This is exactly the reason why I want marketplaces to have more money, because I don't want to have to press this button over and over again. I'd like to just click this little button that says sell all, and that would be so much nicer, but I can't because of these items at the bottom here. So you can see here, there you go. I would have sold this for free, which would have been 16,000, which is, well, 16,000 is not that much when you think about it by itself, but if you have a number of those pieces, then it is just way too much to basically just give away. But there you go. There is the Aserai. They have completely been eliminated. Or shall we say, there was the Aserai. Yeah, past tense. I hope that they'll actually offer me peace now, because that will then mean that I can make my way very peacefully. Oh, they want to give it to me? Are you serious? Okay, apparently they want to give it to me. Well, that's interesting. I guess. I guess I will accept it. Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, well, now I have to go back there and actually deal with the garrison. It seems like the Khuzait are fighting back. As you can no doubt tell, they actually did just defeat a bunch of Landian vassals, which is not very good, but we're going to just auto-resolve here as well. And this is going to be a bit of a new tactic for me as well. Generally, I tend to go for towns first because, you know, they're the most valuable things. But I'm going to try to change up things a little bit here, change up my strategy, and we're literally just going to be targeting all of the weakened castles. And these castles are not really going to have, I mean, as you can quite clearly tell, this thing literally only has 200. The one that we just took had about 600, so obviously that was much more difficult and much more costly in terms of casualties. However, that does not really matter in the grand scheme of things, because we have troops upon troops upon troops, and we cannot possibly lose as many as the enemy. So as long as we outnumber them, that is all that is required, which is absolutely fine with me. So we're just going to be leaving that alone for the moment. Basically, we're just going to go on a bit of a siege spree here, and I'll try to take Cerritos Castle as well. I would like to take Amprila if at all possible. We might be able to do that as well, dependent on if an army comes out of nowhere and is like, hello there, and then I will be saying no thank you, and then leaving very fast. Oh, hello there. Oh, Penton. Penton's army is actually here. Okay, well, it seems like he was trying to take something. He's traveling to Epinosa Castle. He actually wanted to take the castle that I just took, hilariously enough, the one with 600. So, well, that's bad news for him then, I suppose. But hopefully he'll redirect his energy and indeed his troops somewhere else. That would be quite nice. Oh, yes. Also, for those of you that are still here with me, I'm going to be putting my mod load order down in the description, so you can take a look at that, and you too can play exactly with the same mods, exactly the same load order and version and all that stuff. I'm playing on 1.4.2, by the way, so if you're not into that, then that's absolutely fine. You can just, well, play something, play a different version if you want, but I'm just saying that a couple of people were asking me over the course of the series, and I just never got around to it. So hopefully it's still going to be useful to you, and if it is, then that's great. Then you can take a look in the description, and you'll see all of that. You'll see all the mod load order and stuff like that. So it takes a little bit of trial and error, and a little bit of help from you as well. Actually, someone did mention that I needed to do something quite specific with Bannerlord Tweaks to actually make it work on this version, and all it required was just a slight change in load order, which was quite amazing to me, because generally I tend to not really care too much about the load order. Obviously I follow the instruction about whatever the mod says on the download page, because that's just good practice, but sometimes it just doesn't make any difference, you know. Sometimes it's like, okay, this mod can go anywhere you like, but it prefers to be in this specific, you know, area. So, you know, you got to be. Sometimes it's a little bit choosy about what it decides to do. But otherwise, what's happening here? Oh, the Aserai have declared war against us. That is probably not the best idea. Let's just say that is not a good idea for them to do. But it's all right. We're going to be taking Amprila here. And I just want to get my battering ram up and running. Thank you very much. And now we'll just do an auto-resolve. There we go. Nice. And we've taken all of that. We're just going to leave all the prisoners to my friends here. Oh, and we've actually released a bunch of Valandians as well. Did you see that? Apparently they were in the prisoner's hold there. I didn't even realize. So that's good. That has definitely increased our combat strength by a pretty significant amount then, freeing those vassals up. And it seems to me like we should be able to continue onward now. So now that was my strategy, basically, to go from Epinosa Castle to Cerritos Castle and then take Amprila, because if the enemy was watching us and thought to themselves, okay, what are we going to counterattack here? Then they're going to counterattack the castles first, obviously, because they are completely undefended. Well, save for a couple of, you know, lower tier units or something like that. And I thought, okay, they're going to act as really, really good distractions, and then I'm going to be able to basically do whatever I want with Amprila, and then we're going to be able to take it, and it's going to be fantastic. So basically, we're going to go to the other castles as well in the area, and we're just going to take those too. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think that is pretty much it for the entirety of this series. I mean, I had a lot of fun. I hope you did as well. And well, I won't be ending it off just here yet, but I think you can kind of see the writing on the wall. I think the Khuzait can see the writing on the wall very, very much as well. I mean, you can easily tell that we have massive, massive combat strength. It just is crazy. We have 145,000 now. The Sturgians have lost combat strength somehow. I don't know how that happened. They probably got killed by some bandits or something. The Aserai, as you can see, have 664. Battania has 202. Khuzait still have 16,000. But bear in mind, only a couple of days ago, they had about 24,000, so they've lost 8,000 combat strength in a very short span of time. So obviously that is kind of interesting. And okay, so we have another army going up here. That's great. Okay, so let's take Tepesh Castle then, shall we? Hopefully Vlad isn't there, because he's probably going to say hello to us and then go, I want to drink your blood. Oh, no, he's not going to do that, is he? No, hopefully not, because then he's going to count and it's going to be terrible. You know, because he's Count Dracula. He's going to go, one, you know, and so on. But no, let's hope that he's not there, to be honest. I prefer Cookie Monster. How about Cookie Monster? How about that? I think that would probably be better. Or, you know, a Big Bird or something. Who knows? Anyway, we're going to build these, and then we'll just go straight in. And there's 700 here. It's going to be a bit dicey. It's going to be a bit dicey, but my people are actually eating me out of house and home at the moment, so I really do need to get a bit of a move on here. There you go. I'm mainly looking at my casualties, by the way, as well, because generally my casualties are about 15 to 30 deaths every single siege, and that is not that big a deal. And obviously my vassals will be able to magically gain troops out of nowhere, and I don't really need to worry about them too much. Otherwise, let's go into my party screen real quick and just advance a couple of troops. As you can see, 93 troops leveling up right there. Very significant gains. And there's Usek Castle. That is also being taken by, who is that? Belgier's army. That's fantastic. Hakun Castle is over there as well. We should probably go and take that too. Unfortunately, we are running out of food, which is a bit of a problem. So I'm hopeful that maybe, there's clay. I'm hopeful that maybe there's like a friendly village somewhere that I can just buy some food from. But I think we should have enough to do what we need to do. But basically, I just wanted to try and demonstrate how extremely powerful Vlandia is right now. And I can basically just go to, well, pretty much anywhere and take it with an auto-resolve. And that really does demonstrate how strong the faction has become. Let's go over to Samira Castle, actually, because it seems like Hakun Castle is actually being taken. Usek Castle is now being besieged, but that is, again, not a big deal at all. It is super, super easy to deal with the enemy now. We are cornering them in such a dramatic fashion that even if they decide to lash out at any point and try to take one of the castles, it's all a distraction, you know? It's all a distraction. We have so many prongs just poking them all over the place that they can't possibly do anything about it. And we're going to make peace with Britannia, even though I have no idea why we're even at war against them. They seem to always be attacking us and stuff like that. They do get freed, so maybe it's not a good idea to make peace with them, to be honest. But I get kind of annoyed at all of their peace agreement votes coming up all the time, because they generally do tend to want to talk about things quite often. I'd much prefer to just leave it either at war for a significant amount of time or leave it in peacetime for a long time, but sometimes that's just not how it goes. Anyway, let's just take this last castle here, and that should be it. And well, obviously there are a number of towns still remaining, but you can quite clearly see that that is just a formality at this point. It is very much just a formality, so we really do not have to worry about anything there. And after I've taken this castle, I'm actually wanting to see my combat strength. And there we go. We've also destroyed another one of their armies, so their combat strength is plummeting even further down the drain. And let us now conquer it. There you go. 9 deaths only for Bruce's army right there. That's pretty crazy. Let's just do that. And let's take a look. All right, so yeah, they basically only have a number of towns remaining, and it is literally just a case of me auto-resolving against all of them, and that is it. So I thank you very much for joining me on this journey. And once again, if you'd like to see my mod load order, it will be down below in the description. And I would recommend definitely to, even if you're not really interested in playing on a previous version, which I can understand obviously, because every single version the developers do make the game better, but you know, if you're not interested in playing on a previous version, I understand it. However, I would recommend trying it out if some of these mods, because I actually haven't checked, obviously, but if some of these mods do not work on the latest versions, so 1.5.0 or whatever, then I'd recommend trying it, because these mods worked extremely seamlessly together, and I'm actually really surprised how well they did combine to form actually a very well fleshed out experience. And I know a lot of people's criticism of Bannerlord at the moment is that it just doesn't have a huge amount of, well, things to do. I mean, yeah, you know, you can do battle here, you can do a siege, you can do a tournament, you can trade, you can do all that stuff. But mods are where the game's longevity is coming in, and they really make a huge difference. Diplomacy fixes, huge shout out to those people that made that, because that is fantastic. That is the main reason, by the way, we even have the option to do any of this diplomacy stuff, like sending messengers, proposing peace and all that stuff, because I don't think you have that in the base game unless they've added that in the latest versions, and I don't know about it. But that's also the reason why I was able to usurp the throne as well. I know a bunch of people were asking me about that, and as you can see, the clans would literally need 213 vassals against us to be able to usurp the throne from me, and that's never going to happen in a million years. So we have basically solidified our position as their leader. And let's take a look. Last look. 146,753. I wonder whether we've actually gotten more combat strength in the past than that. I don't think so. I think that's probably a record right now for me. So, interesting. Anyway, as I say, thank you very much for joining me on this journey, and I hope you'll join me for the next one. And if you have any ideas about what you'd like to see, or suggestions, or, you know, for series or anything like that, then by all means, let me know. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.